Josef Fares. He first became an icon of the games industry when he took the stage at the Game Awards and flipped off the Oscars and told them to F off. But since then, he's also made some pretty awesome games. Best known for It Takes Two, developed by Hazelight Studios, which went on to win Game of the Year. And so Joseph had recently come to the limelight of games media because not only is he promoting his new game, Split Fiction, but also because he had some comments to share about something EA said recently. For those who don't know, Dragon Age The Veilguard, BioWare's latest release, failed spectacularly when it comes to sales, with EA itself having admitted in this press release that Dragon Age engaged approximately 1.5 million players during the quarter, down nearly 50% from the company's expectations. So compared to other entries in the Dragon Age series, 1.5 million sold would not be ideal, given that even Dragon Age 2 sold more than that. But note that they said engaged, meaning that Dragon Age The Veilguard probably didn't even really sell 1.5 million units. A significant portion of that player base was likely from things like free trials and whatnot. And so that puts BioWare and EA in a precarious position. But EA had this notion that the reason Dragon Age The Veilguard failed was because it wasn't a live service, with Andrew Wilson stating the following about Dragon Age The Veilguard's failure: in order to break out beyond the core audience, games need to directly connect to the evolving demand of players who increasingly seek shared world features and deeper engagement alongside high-quality narratives in this beloved category, which is corporate speak for Dragon Age The Veilguard proves that single-player games are dying and that more interest lies in live services, except that makes no sense given that EA's own live service releases and BioWare's own live service release like Anthem failed spectacularly and cost the likes of EA a lot of money. And then right here we have EA CFO expressing similar notions, stating, quote, Dragon Age The Veilguard underperformed, icing the competitive dynamics of the single-player RPG market. Historically, blockbuster storytelling has been the primary way our industry bought beloved IP to the players. The game's financial performance highlights the evolving industry landscape and reinforces the importance of our actions to reallocate resources towards our most significant and highest potential opportunities, very much referring to live services. This is just confirmation bias. They are ignoring all of the live service failures and only paying attention to the single-player failures and are scapegoating that to not being live service when Dragon Age The Veilguard just missed the mark as a Dragon Age game and didn't appeal to a lot of people because of the direction that it went into. That's really kind of what it comes down to. It didn't light the gaming world on fire. This led to a lot of developers speaking out, including Mike Laidlaw, who is the former creative director of Dragon Age. He posted the following on Blue Sky: if someone said to me the key to the successful single-player IP success is to make it purely a multiplayer game, no, not a spin-off, fundamentally change the DNA of what people loved about the core game to me, I'd probably quit that job or something. And now also speaking out is none other than Josef Fares from Hazelight Studios. And what you need to know about Hazelight Studios is that it is under the EA umbrella. Games that they've made like It Takes Two are published by EA. Now, fortunately, EA has given Hazelight a lot of free reign, especially with the success of It Takes Two. And what I love about Josef Fares is that despite technically working under EA in many ways, with their games being published by EA, including the upcoming Split Fiction, he's still not afraid to speak his mind about EA as a publisher and some of the things that its executives have to say. And so he recently spoke to news outlet Eurogamer about this notion that Dragon Age The Veilguard would have succeeded if it had been a live service, and that there is more opportunity for success in the games industry if you go live service. Josef Fares had some choice words to say about that, scoffing at the notion and stating that Hazelight itself will never be a live service game studio, and live service will never be his choice. If Hazelight at some point does go live service, it'll be because he was mandated to do so But even that seems unlikely because Hazelight has been successful enough as a studio that EA is likely going to give them free rein and let them do what they do best, or at least that's the hope, and hopefully EA doesn't take that away from Hazelight and just essentially sabotage the studio that has brought a lot of positive critical acclaim and recognition, as well as great sales. But beyond that, Josef Fares said, "We will not have them. I do not believe in them," referring to live service games. And then he followed up with, "I think live service is not the right way to go. I hope more and more developers focus on their passion and what they believe in. Unfortunately, that's not always their choice. A lot of developers do want to pursue what they're passionate about, what they believe in. They want to make what vision they have in an uncompromised fashion. But because game development is expensive and they're beholden to corporations like publishers and potentially their mandates, which they have to adhere by because they're ultimately funding the game, that's when that passion and the vision and the full potential of that vision kind of gets lost a little bit because it gets corrupted by corporate mandates." Yeah, this is more a message to EA that, they should let developers focus on their passion and, let them do what they believe in. At the end of the day, we see clearly, and Hazelight is living proof, that when you trust in your vision and go with it, you can still reach a big audience. That's where I want people to focus on. That's the crazy part about EA claiming that Dragon Age Veilguard would have been more successful if it was a live service is Hazelight is living proof that such notions are completely wrong, especially when you look at just how well It Takes Two did, with Josef Fares having recently confirmed that It Takes Two sold almost like, quote unquote, 23 million copies. This is a non-live service co-op game, the type of game that EA recently claimed are dying, that went on to do gangbusters. And the key to the success of a game like It Takes Two was that EA let Hazelight cook. They let them make what they specialized in, which is these types of co-op experiences, and they achieved their pinnacle with It Takes Two after, trial and error and through the experience that they garnered with previous games. And, without mandates to suddenly shift genres and make a type of game that, they are just not either passionate about or they're not accustomed to, by allowing Josef Fares to follow his ideals and to follow his passion and his vision without compromises. A game like It Takes Two managed to sell gangbusters and make EA a lot of money, alongside the recognition like Game of the Year. And Hazelight didn't achieve immediate success through It Takes Two. They released a few other games prior to it, but they kind of stuck to their core beliefs and the core of what they like to make at the studio. And that's how you get studios like Hazelight rising above into just mega hits, akin to how Larian Studios went at it for a while before Baldur's Gate 3 propelled them to mainstream. Same thing with FromSoft. A lot of trial and error over many, many years before they hit it big with Soulsborne, so on and so forth. CD Projekt, Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077, that wasn't an immediate result. It took nurturing to get there. And so that's really what it's about, nurturing studios properly. And a lot of that comes with letting developers build up experience in a genre of game or in a type of vision or project that they genuinely believe in and isn't corrupted by awful mandates that are just so short-sighted, ones that believe that live services are the key to everything, when live service failures are so abundant in this day and age. Now, Josef Fares continues by saying that he does understand that publishers have a lot of, worries about the money issue. But I think, he says, also you have to understand that we are working with a piece of art here. So you have to respect the creativity as well. They have to meet in the middle. You can't also be too much focused on creativity. You can't just say, give me $100 million. I want to do what I want to do. But there has to be a balance. It can't just be towards the finance side. So no, it will not happen with a Hazelight game ever. I guarantee, he says, in regards to this studio producing any kind of live service, he says, we know the types of games we like to make, the types of games we want players to experience, and we will not compromise just because EA has a hard-on for the potential money-making, that billion-dollar live service could do for them. But yeah, Josef Fares is right. It has to be a balance. At the end of the day, making games, it costs money. It is a business. So not to say that that side of things shouldn't be a consideration, but when that dominates the conversation, when that dominates the art and creativity and the fun aspect of game making and game playing, that's when you get slops that are generic, trend chasing, that clearly is trying to be a jack of all trades, but ends up being a master of none and ultimately ends up appealing to no one. But yeah, I mean, what's great about projects like It Takes Two and Split Fiction is that the budgets for those games are not ridiculous in terms of the financial aspect of things. They're reasonable projects, and when you let the developers cook within those reasonable limitations, you get projects that go on to win Game of the Year awards, that go on to sell 23 million copies despite not being a live service. They end up being a win for the developers, they end up being a win for the gamers, and they end up being a win for even the corporations, publishers like EA, who get to reap some of the rewards of that financial success. And so there's no better proof of how EA wrong is about why Dragon Age the Veilguard failed than Josef Fares, then Hazelight Studios, what they stand for, the kinds of games that they ship, and the success that they've garnered as a result of sticking to their core beliefs. And that's the approach with which game publishers should nurture their studios so that all of them can go on to have the kind of experience and knowledge build-up and the kind of role and momentum that Hazelight has. And then beyond that, it's important to retain the talent that make your games possible instead of letting them go and having all of that, sort of knowledge get lost, and having this constant turnaround of developers and employees that kind of resets the kind of collaborative knowledge and experience that's been built over the years that has allowed for these games to kind of be made in a more efficient manner, so on and so forth. So yeah, Dragon Age the Veilguard failed for a lot of reasons, and it certainly wasn't because it wasn't a live service. And there's plenty of proof out there, including within EA itself, that live service is not the key to success. It's not the key to everything, and that non-live service games can succeed immensely. And hopefully Split Fiction, the new game that Josef Fares and team are working on at Hazelight, can be even further proof of it. And just from what little we have seen of it in terms of the gameplay teases and whatnot, it already looks inventive as hell, creative, and just kind of mind-blowing, the variety of gameplay that we'll be able to partake in with all of the different levels that they have put into this game. It looks gorgeous, and it really looks like they had actual fun making this, and it just looks really unique. And if it kind of follows up on the momentum that they built with It Takes Two, and they deliver something of similar, if not higher quality, then EA might have yet another proof that what they said about Dragon Age the Veilguard's failure and why it failed is just so asinine and completely wrong, and just so devoid of any logical reasoning or thinking. It's just executives being idiots, as always. And so yeah, just as Josef Fares told the Oscars to F off, it basically feels like he's telling EA to F off with their comments about live services and how single-player games need to be made into live services, and how if a single-player game fails, it's because it wasn't a live service. And I love that Josef Fares is not afraid to call all that out amidst his kind of press tour. Even under the umbrella of EA, he's still calling out the company and its executives. And, he has a certain amount of power now because EA, what are they going to do? Let go of Josef Fares and a studio who have produced one of the most successful titles that EA has ever seen, especially in the non-live service sector? No. And so I love that Josef Fares is using his position as a prominent game developer to bring light to the kind of falsehood that is this notion that single-player games fail because they weren't made into live services. So yeah, based Josef Fares, as always, and I'm excited to see what Split Fiction has to offer, with that being sort of the next evolution of Hazelight. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Josef Fares' comments in regards to what EA had to say about why Dragon Age the Veilguard failed. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, Stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.